Warning: the following video you are about to see is a culmination of hours upon hours of attempts at using shotgun slugs in Warzone and Plunder. The contents of this video may be considered disturbing to some and may cause any of the following symptoms: anger, frustration, confusion, sadness, and gamer rage. Viewer discretion is advised.
Can't do it. I can't do it. Nope. I can't do it.
Ah, man, the last few days have been a trip. Using slugs in Warzone and Plunder. Wow, I mean, I don't really know what else to tell you guys except that it's not good. It's just not good. Oh man, it's really not good. Now this won't be a traditional slug shotgun kind of guide. I already have a guide on my channel for shotgun slugs in multiplayer, and they do function a little bit differently in Warzone, which we'll get into. But overall, this is gonna be not as much of a typical guide, but more of an insight on how slugs are and how they function, and why I think you should just avoid them entirely. I'm gonna just be honest with you right up front. Now, before we go over the damage that slugs do in Warzone and Plunder, let's take a little bit to refresh ourselves on how slugs work in multiplayer, and then a few other things as well. I do recommend watching my video on shotgun slugs. It is very detailed, but as a quick little refresher, here we go. In standard multiplayer, shotgun slugs can deal up to 162 damage, and that is the maximum damage they can do, and that is if you are hitting the head or the upper chest at point blank range. The other parts of the body that deal different damage are basically the chest, and then it goes down to the stomach and the upper thighs, and then the legs. And those all do different damage, and depending on the range, you might get a one-shot kill or you might not. But generally, you want to be hitting upper chest or the head area to get your best range and then one-shot kill ability. The parts of the body that do different types of damage seem to be the same between Warzone and multiplayer, but the damage itself seems to be quite different. Now, let's get into some numbers real quick. So for the standard Buckshot 680, you can down someone with full armor, meaning 3 full plates and full health, in about 2 shots if you're up close. Now, just for comparison's sake, the Mark II carbine can down someone with full armor in 2 headshots, and the Kar 98 can do the same as well. And if you have any little bit of armor missing, then the Kar 98 and the MK2 will down someone in about 1 shot if you hit them in the head. Now that we have some comparisons out of the way, for reference, how many shots do you think it takes for a shotgun slug to down someone if you are point blank and hitting them in the head with full armor? Go ahead, guess. Are you ready? Well, the number of headshots it takes at point blank to down someone with a shotgun slug is 4. Yeah, 4 headshots at point blank range to down someone with full armor. That's with a shotgun slug. Now, if you're like me, you probably have a lot of things flowing through your head right now, but let's dissect it together. Let's go over this as a team. Now, if you remember, in standard multiplayer, a shotgun slug at point blank in the head would deal about 162 hit points. So what happened? In Warzone, there's 250 health points, so surely just 2 headshots with the slug would kill someone, right? It appears that they've lowered the overall damage and effectiveness of slugs, and the damage has gone way down, because if it takes 4 headshots, that means that the most damage you can do is around 60 to 70 hit points, and that's to get those 4 headshots to kill. You can't kill in less than 4 shots if they are a fully armored player. If they have a little bit of armor missing or a little bit of health gone, you can kill them in less, but for most players you run into, they'll have full armor, and you're gonna be really, really screwed. And that's if you're hitting the head. In some of the examples you'll see, sometimes I get 5 hits to down someone, and that's on a non-moving target. And that's, of course, best case scenario. If you happen to run into someone who has no armor, you still can't one-shot them in the head. It still takes 2 headshots to kill someone with slugs. Ouch. Now, if you're hitting center mass, which is going to be the stomach and the chest area, it's going to take about 5 shots to kill. And if for some reason you end up hitting their legs quite a bit, leg shots, it will take 8 total shots to kill. Eight shots. Let that sink in for a second. That's insane. Considering this is a shotgun slug, I can't even fathom this. 8 shots to kill is bonkers. So in theory, you could take 8 to 4 shots to kill someone with shotgun slugs. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but that's kind of asinine. Now, in most practical scenarios, you're gonna be hitting the stomach or the chest area, so it's probably gonna be about 5 shots to kill, which is, yes, it's still quite a bit, but if you start sprinkling in those leg shots here and there, maybe because they're too far, maybe they're further than 30 meters away, so that bullet drop's kicking in, it might take 6 shots, it might take 7, who knows? But in most cases, expect about 5 shots to kill. And again, we're talking about fully armored players here because that's usually what you run into, especially in Warzone. So in theory, it could take anywhere from 4 shots to kill up to 8, and that's if you're hitting their legs, of course. Now, in most scenarios you'll find yourself in, I have a feeling it's gonna be about 5 shots to kill if you face an armored player or someone who has full armor. I have got instances where I've hit someone and killed them in maybe 2 to 3 shots, but that's generally because they have no armor or very little armor, or they've already taken damage to their health bar. Now, the shots to kill basically seem the same for all the shotguns. It seems like no matter what you do, no matter where you hit, you're gonna get about 5 shot kills with the 725, with the 680, with the Origin. It doesn't really matter. They're all balanced in such a way that they're all extremely weak, and there doesn't really seem to be much of a difference between the shotguns. When it comes to damage, there is just no reason to use slugs over traditional buckshot or even dragon's breath. The slugs are just way too unforgiving and the damage is just way too weak to be considered viable. So in terms of damage, don't even bother with them. But as we know, there are different factors involved in using slugs that make this experience an absolute nightmare. The damage that the slugs can do is enough to turn us all off from using them in Warzone and Plunder, including myself. But wait, there's more. Things like bullet drop. As you know, slugs have a steep bullet drop past 30 meters. So past 30 meters, you have to aim above your target, especially if you want to hit the upper chest and the head area, which is where you do the most damage. So on top of that really weak damage, you have to aim slightly higher than your target. Not only that, but there's also the velocity, the muzzle velocity, basically how fast does that slug travel. And in this game, slugs travel pretty slow, and you'll really notice it when you're going for long range shots, which I don't recommend, where you'll just notice it takes a split second from when you shoot to where your target actually hits. Pistols are better at sniping. Snipers are of course better at sniping. Literally everything is better in this game at sniping than slugs. But the headache doesn't end there. Oh no. On top of all that, slugs do not go exactly where you aim them. In this game, slugs basically have a little bit of a spread. And I guess that's for balancing purposes. Balancing what? I have no idea at this point. But they do have a little bit of spread, and you can help this by using the choke and by also using tighter or bigger barrels. But even then, let's say you use the biggest barrel on the 680 with the choke, it still doesn't go 100% where you aim it. And this is another thing on top of the other list we've already made that just makes this such a bad experience. And I don't know what else to say, guys, except that slugs might be the worst thing in this game. Yeah, there's knives, there's using melee weapons, and then there's slugs. And honestly, at this point, maybe knives are better than slugs because at least they perform consistently enough. You can kind of know what you're getting yourself into. With shotgun slugs, who knows what's gonna happen? Slugs are a novelty in this game. I totally understand it, I totally get it. Not a lot of people use them, they're not super popular, but why bother having them in the game if they're gonna perform this underwhelmingly and this terribly? It's awful. These type of weapons are supposed to reward you for the high level of skill it takes to use them and for how accurate you have to be when you're using them. When you have to take in factors like bullet drop and bullet velocity and all that, then you should be rewarded for being able to play well with them. But in this game, in Warzone specifically, you're just not, because it still takes 4 shots to kill with a headshot. And that, in my opinion, should just never happen. It should be about 2, maybe 3, but 2 sounds much more reasonable for something so difficult to use. And so this video is a cry for help. In my opinion, we need to spread awareness of this issue, share the video, let people know what's going on with Slugs, because I can't fathom, I can't believe how underpowered they are in Warzone. And it's just really sad more than anything. And I think that if anything, it's an oversight in that Infinity Ward kind of overlooked it. There's no way this is intentional. That's really, really crazy if it is. And if it is intentional, I hope they consider, and hopefully a dev sees this and understands and sees why this is so much of a problem. And I'm not asking for Slugs to be completely broken and overpowered. I'm not asking for a 725 on steroids here. I'm just asking for a little wiggle room. Let me be rewarded for my accurate shot placement, and let me have fun with this thing, because trying to use them currently, it's just not fun. There is no fun factor, it's just pure torture. And I know I'm kind of ranting at this point, but if you guys have tried to use Slugs like I have, if you've been a fan of the KSG and Slugs in the past COD games, this is kind of just sad. And so I hope that you guys can understand that and where I'm coming from. At the end of the day though, it is what it is, so we'll see what happens. But for now, stick to Buckshot and stick to Dragon's Breath, and just don't even think about using Slugs really. And guys, that's about all I had planned for this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed that little mini rant I had at the end there. I didn't really plan it, it just kind of happened. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it, and be sure to let me know in the comments what you think of Slugs, what you think of the video, all that good stuff. Make sure to leave a comment, drop a like, and make sure to subscribe if you're new here. I make gun guides, I make fun little videos. I tend to focus on shotguns, but not all the time. But it's a fun channel. We have a nice community here, so if you can, subscribe and come join us. So with all that being said and out of the way, I will see you guys in the next video. Brr.